Hi, HP students. This is Rob Jensen with you today to discuss the October 2019 SAT. We're going to be going through section 4 and just kind of walking you through the solutions that we have for this test. So as we sort of begin, we can see the first one we're kind of looking at, which is some sort of graphing data interpretation type problem. What we can see here on this one, it says, during which the following periods with the family's water usage above 750 gallons per week. And so if we kind of look at what that may do, we can see 750 is right there of sorts, kind of right there. So we can see that's kind of weeks between like 20, 28. And so we can see that comfortably is answer choice C on that one. Okay, number 2, it says the distance between two locations on the map is 6 centimeters. So we see that distance, 6 centimeters. If 1 centimeter map corresponds to an actual distance of 15 miles, what is the location in miles between the two locations? So this is just a ratio and proportion. We see we've got 1 centimeter corresponds to 15 miles, right? And we have 6 centimeters, right? So 6 centimeters, and we wanted to kind of figure out what x miles that we have. So just kind of cross multiply and divide. We're going to get essentially 1 times x, this is going to be x, and then 6 times 15. What does that end up giving me? 90. So 90 miles. So the answer choice is C on this one. Okay, number 3, as we look at this, store received a shipment of 1,000 MP3 players. 1,000 MP3 players, 4 of which were defective. If an MP3 player is randomly selected, what is the shipment? What is the probability? So remember, probability is nothing more than like the number favorable over the number probable. And we see it's asking us what is the probability that is defective. So 4 of them are defective out of 1,000, right? Because that's how many for which we have. So we take our calculator, kind of figure out what that is. So 4 divided by 1,000 is going to give me 0.004. So we can see that the probability of that in a decimal form is A in this particular question. Okay, number 4, what we see here is basically just a function problem. We're plugging in 20 for x. We're going to plug in 20 there, there, and then there. And then so see what the value may be. So let's write this expression out. We're going to have f of 20 equals 20 plus 0.25 times 20. And then we're multiplying that by 50 minus 20. So again, I'm going to kind of need my calculator a little bit on this one for what we have. So clear 0.25 times 20 is going to give me 5. So now here we're going to have 20 plus 5 times, that's going to give me 30. So that's going to give me 25 times 30. 3 times 25 is going to give me 75, and then add the 0, so that's going to give me 750, or C for that answer choice. Okay, let's look at number 5 here. We're going to see we've got some sort of distribution here. We're looking for which equation is equivalent. We're going to distribute that 2 into both of these terms, so that's going to give me 2AB, which we see in all of these, minus 6 plus 2. So we need to make sure we combine those terms there. So it's going to be 2AB minus 4. We see B is the answer choice on that one. Okay, so number 6 says what number, so basically what number that's talking about x is or equals to 20% greater than 60. So remember 20% greater, that's the same thing as saying like 1 plus r. So in this particular instance, it's going to be 1.2 because you're adding the 0.2 to r. So this is saying x equals 1.2 times 60. And so then using our calculator, we can then kind of see what that so happens to yield there. So 60 times 1.2 gives me 72. So the answer choice here is B. All right, let's look at number 7 here. It is saying what is the slope of the line of this? So we can see the graph of y equals 3x minus 5 line. What is the slope of the line? The slope is 3. Therefore, the answer choice is C on this one. Okay, number 8 here says system equation consists of quadratic equation and linear equation, and how many systems, how many solutions. Remember, solutions here is suggesting like how many times they happen to intersect. So we can see both the line and the parabola intersect there. They also intersect there, so we have 2 solutions on this one. Okay, number 4, we see this is a modeling question here. So see this is modeling. We know it's modeling because we see, 1, we see the equation. It's one characteristic. 2, we see the interpretation of the number 2 here. And the number 2 is the slope. So if we know we see the slope, we know that it's talking about m equals the y unit over the x unit, and we're talking about 2 over 1, right? We also know that slope talks about some sort of increase rate or rate of change, which don't see any keywords in that one. It's kind of suggesting that. But we know that the unit for the y is feet, I believe. Yeah, feet. And the unit for the x, or the n in this, is years. So we know that is years. So we can see that for every year it's growing 2 feet, if we're talking about the 2 here. The number of years it took the tree to double its height, no, that's not it. The average number of feet that the tree grew per year, that looks like it right there. Let me double check. The height and feet of the tree when it was 1, no, that's not it. The average number of years it took similar trees, no, that's not it. So yeah, B is the answer choice there. The average number of feet, so that's the y unit, that the tree grew per year, so that's the x. Okay, number 10 says the residents of town were surveyed to determine whether they are satisfied with the concession stands, local park. A random sample of 200 residents were selected. All 200 responded, and 87% said they are satisfied. Based on the information, which the following statements must be true. It says all the town residents, 87%, would say they're satisfied with the concession stands. Well, we can't say, here it says all of the town residents, 87%. So we can't extrapolate to say that just because we have a random sample of 200 and that 87% said they were satisfied, that the whole town would say they were satisfied. So that is not true. So based on which of the following statements must be true, so we know 1 is not true. So we're between A and C now. If another random sample of 200 residents were surveyed, 87%. So again, we can't say that for sure again either. So we don't necessarily know that for certain or anything. So actually, the answer choice on this one is A. Okay. Okay, now number 11, we see it's kind of this coordinate geometry one. It says, in the xy plane, the graph of y equals x plus 3 intersects the graph of y equals 2x minus 6 at point A, B. What is the value of A there? So really, that's talking about the x there. That is saying x, y. And the word intersects, remember, that's talking about a system of equations there. So really, if we just say y equals x plus 3 and y equals 2x minus 6, we can bridge through these terms. So x plus 3 equals 2x minus 6, because we're just solving for x there. Move that over, minus x, move that over, plus 6. And we can see 9 equals x, or C there. Okay, number 12, we see we have this line of best fit. Normally what we want to do is we want to kind of grab 2 points that we can confidently use for our identifying our slope, because we see we have a positive 3, a 0 point. Well, 1, we see this is a positive slope. So let's go ahead and get rid of these negatives. So we know between A and B now. And really, if we find the slope, we find our answer. So I'm going to say, and they're not even close, so we don't need to use precise numbers. We're just going to use 2, 5 here, and 4, 15 there. And that'll be enough to tell us, so the change of y over the change of x, 15 minus 5, 15 minus 5, 4 minus 2, so that's going to give me 10 over 2, or 5. So that's a pretty big number, right? That's just a big number there. And so the answer choice has to be A because it's closer to 3 than it is to 0.8. So A is the answer choice there on that one. Okay, number 13. Oh, okay, so 13 here, you see that we have this radical equation. We want to know what the solution is to this. This one is not a friendly one because what we're doing is we're having to take the square root of them. Let me try to solve this by hand real quick. I know I can also do this by graphing them. Actually, graphing them is probably the best way to do this. Let me pull up a graph that I can show you real quick of things. Okay, I took a moment, kind of went off screen and paused the video to show you what I've done. But what I've done is I've taken my graphing calculator and I have taken the left side of the equation and put it in for where my y equals one term, and then the right hand side of the equation and put it on another one. And what you'll see is here where both lines intersect, which that's the solution of this problem of the ordered pair 4, 36, and it wants to know what is the value of x, and you can see the value of x here is 4 for this equation. And so this is typically the easiest thing to do in this particular problem. You can solve it algebraically. You can use trial and error in this particular instance of taking the x term and popping them in and see which one is equivalent on both right and left sides. But again, it's more work than what's needed. So it's really good if you can just recognize like, oh, okay, I have this really difficult radical problem. It's going to take some algebraic work of my own to do to really solve for it. But hey, this is section 4. I've got my calculator. Let me use this in this particular instance. Let's pop those things in there. Let's find the x value solution and go from there. Now, sometimes you may have a question that says like, for instance, it may say like, what is the value of like x plus 2? Well, as we saw in this one, the value of x was 4, right? So therefore, x plus 2 would just be 4 plus 2, which would then give me 6 or something. So if you needed to solve it, and if it was asking for something of that variety. Okay, let's look at number 14 here. 14 is telling us that a fish hatchery has 3 tanks for holding fish before they're introduced into the wild. 10 fish weighing less than 5 ounces are placed in tank A. Okay, so let's write this so we know that tank A has 10 that are at less than 5 ounces. Okay, and then tank B is telling us 11 fish weigh at least 5 ounces, but no more than 13 ounces are in tank B, right? So we know that B has 11 fish, and then for that, they are between at least 5 ounces, but no more than 13. So they could be 13, but no more than 13. And then tank C, what we see here, tank C, they have 12 fish, so they have 12. They're in tank C, and they're all weighing more than 13 ounces. So we see that they're all weighing more than 13. Actually, that way, not equal to. So it's asking us which the following could be the median of the 33 fish. So if we know we have 33 fish, let's subtract 1. So that means we want to find our lower and upper half. So that's going to give us 32. So that means divided in half, we know that the lower half is the first 16 values. And then the median is going to be the 17th value. And the upper range is going to be 18 through 33. So we want to find where that 17th value is here. Well, here we see we have the first 10, so there's 1 through 10 there. Well, then through here we have 11, so that would be 11 through 21. And then from here, what we'd see is we have 22 through 33 there of sorts, is the way I would see it, right? Yeah, so 11, yeah. So what we see here, again, we're looking for the 17th value. The 17th value falls in this range right here. So it has to be between 5 and 13. The only one that fits that is B. This is very much like the pyramid question in our curriculum. It's just using some inequalities there. Okay, number 15. Triangle ABC measures the angle of A is 50. If triangle ABC is an isosceles, which of the following is not a possible measure of angle B? So let's draw two different ones here. So if we say this is A, B, C, if we say these legs are equivalent to this, and this one's different, and if we say A is 50, right, then this means this has to be 50. And if that's 50 and 50 is 100, this means this has to be 80. So we know 50 and 80 are not part of our answer choices. But let's make 50 the odd angle out of this mix. So let's make it to where it's something like, well, let's make it like this, right? Make it like this. And let's say this is A, this is B, and this is C. And we'll say this is 50. This will be our odd angle. And these two are the same. So if that's 50, that means there's, 180 minus 50 is going to give me 130, and divide that by 2. So that means this has to be 65, and this has to be 65. So it can't be 65. So one angle that's not possible in this particular instance is 100 degrees there. Okay, number 16 here. Which of the following equation of a circle? 8, negative 6, negative 8, 6. So we know we have to have a positive 8, so it's not that. Not that. We have to have a negative 6. We have negative 6 both here, so those are good. And we see the radius is 5, so that means r squared. So if the radius is 5, r squared is 25. So that means B is the answer choice and not D here. Okay, number 17 here. Okay, so as we read 17, and kind of looking at it, looks like we got a probability question. Yes, it is a probability question. We can see probability in here. So remember, these are always leading in pretty much with remember, probability is the number favorable over the number possible, and usually they'll lead with the number possible and then the favorable in these statements. So I'm not going to read any of this because I know what all this means. So it says, based on the data, which of the following is closest to the probability that randomly selected adult who is 18 to 35 years old. So a randomly selected adult who is 18 to 35 years old. So that's my possible there, 18 to 35. And so we see that we're just talking about this row right here. So our possible here is 508. And then the favorable, who prefers to live in a cool climate. So we're talking about 508. Cool is 168. 168. So bringing up my calculator again of sorts, what we can then see from there. Sorry, I don't need graph, I need scientific. Well, taking too much time here, quite honestly. 168 divided by 5. 0.8 gives me 33. So we can see C is the answer choice here. C. Okay, number 18, it is saying which of the following is closest to the difference between the percentage of adults aged 18 to 50 years who responded warm and the percentage of adults of age 51 years or greater who responded years warm. So we're looking at 18 to 50, right? Which of the following is close to the difference between the percentage of adults aged 18 to 50 who responded warm? So 18 to 50. So we're looking at both of these values here. And so we're looking at, and those who responded warm, that would be these terms. So really that's telling us that that is 295 plus 246 over 508 plus 410. And then the second statement is the percentage of adults who responded at age 51 years or greater responded warm. So now we're looking at these two values here and these two values for that one. So we can see that would be the difference, right? So we're talking about the difference between those. So on the top we'd have 238 plus 137 over 403 plus 279. So okay, so I need my calculator again for all of this. And so here I can see I have 295 plus 246, and then we're going to divide that by adding the two bottom terms of 508 plus 410, and that's going to give me 58.9. So we see that's going to be delete. Sorry, 58.9, and then we need to find the other term too. So that's going to be 238 plus 137 divided by 0.03 plus 279. And so that's going to give me, oh, hold on, what? Something happened there. Okay, let's try that again. 238 plus 137. So my sum, and then I want to divide that by the sum of the bottom numbers, 403. There we go, 54.9. So it looks like the difference of 4% there. So yeah, difference there is 4. Okay, number 19 is a rates problem. It says which of the following speeds is equivalent to 90 kilometers per hour. So we want to know, and we're here in meters per second. So if we're at 90 kilometers per hour, and we see our conversion unit here of meters to 1,000 meters to 1 kilometer, then we can eliminate our kilometers, right? Eliminate those terms. And so we're going to now be in meters per hour. So what you'll see now is we're now in, what we're now in is 9, and we got 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're at 90,000 kilometers per hour, but we don't want to be in hours. We want to be in meters per, meters per second. That's, meters per hour. So we want to be in meters per second. So if we're there now, so 90,000 meters per hour, we now know that we can multiply that 1 hour is equivalent to 60 minutes, right? And we also know that 1 minute is equivalent to 60 seconds, right? And so we're going to get rid of the hours, get rid of the minutes, and what you'll see here is we're left in meters per second. So let's do that. Get our calculator out here. We're going to have 90,000. That would be divided by 60 times 60. And what you'll see is we're at 25 meters per second, or A. There's the answer choice there. Number 20. So as we look at number 20, what I can see here is in the scatter plot in the XY plane above shows 9 points in the line of best fit. The following which best estimates the amount by which the line underestimates the value of Y. So of the following, which best estimates the amount by which the line underestimates the value of y when x equals 50. So if we go find when x equals 50 here, we see we're right there, right, which is at 65. So that's my actual value. And then we can see the predicted value is roughly, what, about 47? So not quite 20, probably 18. So D, yeah. Okay, 21. It says a certain elephant weighs 200 pounds at birth, right? So at birth, and gains more than 2, but less than 3 pounds per day. So that's our slope here during his first year. Which of the following inequalities represents all possible weights, W, in pounds for the elephant? So here we can write one where we know we have the 200 pounds, which is our y-intercept, plus 2 times 365, because that's the least amount for which it can gain in a day, times 365. So that's going to give me, what, 350, 700, 730, so 930, right? And then we can set up another one at 200 plus 3 times 365. And multiplying that out and adding those terms would be 1295. So we can see here 930 is the minimum amount for which it'll weigh. 1295 is the most. D here. Okay, so here we want to know what is the value of n plus 2. We see this pattern in here. We see n plus 2 is there. We see n plus 2 is there. What you can do, you can just say n plus 2 equals x and substitute x where n plus 2 is. So you can just say 3 times x minus 5 equals x. And then you can solve, okay? So we don't want to have to worry about distributing terms there. n plus 2 is kind of we can kind of isolate those terms. Move that over, so minus x, we'll get 2x equals 5, or x equals 5 halves, which we've already said x is equivalent to m plus 2. So B is the answer choice on that one. Good deal. 23, looks like we're interpreting some sort of linear equation here. So it says dwarf planet makes make. Well, we see these are also in slope-intercept form. If you kind of look a little bit, it's not every single one of them, but y equals some form of mx plus b. Some of them have a constant, some of them don't. But that's what's kind of going on here. So make completes one orbit around the sun every 310 years, which the following functions are the number of orbits of make in t years. So here it tells us that one orbit is equivalent to 310 years, right? So there is no constant term here, so that's not it. And you wouldn't multiply by the value of t to get that, because if you had t equals 2, that's suggesting that's 620. So again, that's not true. But here, if we have t equals 310, then that gives us a value of 1, and that means one orbit around the sun. So what we can then see is that C is the answer choice here. D is not, because say we had t equals 620. Well, we should have 2 orbits, right? Well, no, instead we have 1 over 2, or half an orbit, and so that's why D is not correct. Okay, number 24 is a special value. We know it's a special value because we have a system of equations and we're adding up these terms that are different other than x and y. So I'm just going to kind of add them up. So 7x plus 4x. Actually, what I want to do is I want to distribute a negative term here and turn all these terms into opposites. So 7x plus negative 4x will give me 3x. Negative 5y plus 8y will give me 3y. And then we have 4 plus negative 9, which will give me negative 5. And you see 3x plus y, we'll see the answer choice is negative 5 on that one. Okay, looking at number 25 here, it says a data set of 27 different numbers has a mean of 33 and a median of 33. So we see the mean and the median are the same. A new data set is created adding 7 to each number in the original data set, and is data set that is 7 to each number in the original data set that is greater than the median, and subtracting 7 from each number in the original data set that is less than the median. So we're adding 7 to each number that is greater than the median on the upper side, and we're subtracting 7 from all the values that are on the median from the lower side. So if you have like the median, oops, let me see. Sorry. If we have the 30, well, actually it would be remember the lower half, the median, and the upper. So 33, so that means 32, so that means 1 through 16, number 17, and then 18 through 33. So here we're adding 7 to each number, and here we're subtracting 7 to each number. So what you're really doing is you're canceling out those terms, but the median stays the same. And the question is, to which of the following measure does not have the same value in both the original and the new data set? Well, the median will stay the same, but the mean will different. Well, actually, I'm sorry. Let me think. The mean will stay the same. I'm sorry. So it's not this, because the median will stay the same regardless. But if we're adding 7 and subtracting 7 on both sides, then we're just canceling out any sort of additional values there of sorts. And so for what we're doing is that you'll still end up with the same mean. The sum of the numbers will be the same as well. So what will change is that we have a larger spread from the middle of the data set. Is that our data set, the standard deviation will have gotten bigger because the numbers are, by adding 7 and subtracting 7, you widen the data set, and so that's taken that further and further from the middle of the data set. And so D is the answer choice on this one. Okay, number 26, the function f is linear. And so this is just really saying an ordered pair of 2, 17 and a pair of 8, 19. Where fx equals mx plus b, where m and b are constants, what are the value of b? So b, we just want the y-intercept here. So we can find the slope, the change of y over the change of x. So that's going to be 19 minus 17 and 8 minus 2. So we're going to have 2 over 6, or 1 over 3 is the slope. Knowing that, we can now use point slope. So if we have y equals mx plus b, we can put a point in here. I want to use the smaller one here. So we're going to say y is 17. The slope is 1/3 times the x of 2, and solve for b. So that's going to give me 17 equals 2/3 plus b. And so I'm going to minus 2/3 here and minus 2/3 here. So 17 minus 2/3. Well, I know 17, we're just going to use a fraction here. Let me just use my calculator real quick. So 17 times 3 is going to give me 51. Okay, so we know 17 is the same thing. We can say that is the same thing as 51 over 3. And then we're negative 2 over 3. So that's going to give us, when we add those terms together, we're going to get 49 over 3 as our answer choice, or C as the B term, because that's all that's left on this side is that equals B. Okay, 27 here. What we see here, we see percent in favor and margin of error. Remember margin of error, so this can be like plus or minus 52% and plus or minus 48 here. Says the results of 2 random samples of votes for a proposition are shown above. The samples were selected from the same population, and the margin of error were calculated using the same method. Which of the following most appropriate reason that margin of error for sample A is greater than the margin of error for sample B? So we see that we have A is greater than B here. That's what's going on. And we see that being indicated here. So, well, one, this is saying sample A had a smaller number of votes that could not be recorded. Well, we don't know that. Sample A had a smaller number of votes that could not be recorded. That's not really what's going on here. That's, you know, regarding to margin of error, that does not influence margin of error, so it's not A. B, sample A had a higher percentage of favorable responses. Again, that does not influence margin of error. What does influence margin error is the sample size. So in order for A to have a larger margin error, we had to have a smaller sample size. Remember, the larger the sample size for which we have, the more confidence that we can feel about our results for which we're reporting. And so D is the answer choice. Now B had a larger sample size. That's why you have the smaller margin of error here. But for the purpose of this question, D is the answer. Okay, let's see here. So 28 here. All right, something I see here is I see these square root of 3s, so that's suggesting to me that that's, remember that's a 30, 60, 90 right triangle in the answer choices. So even before I start reading that, it says if the perimeter of the logo is 20 centimeters, and we know these are all equilateral triangles, what is the combined area of the shaded regions of square roots? So we know if there's 20, we see we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides, and we know this is 5, that's 5, that's 5, that's 5, and that's 5. And it wants to know what is the combined area of the shaded regions. Well, if we find the area of one of these triangles, then we can find the area of both of these triangles. And so what we can do is we can just make this into a right triangle, right? We already know that these are equilateral triangles, so we know each one of these is 60 degrees. So if I pull one of these out, so I'm going to have right angle. I know that corner is 60, so that is 60, right? I know that is 30, right? So if we know that the base of this is 2.5, right, that means the hypotenuse must be 5. And the side of this, if this is equivalent to 2x, and this is equivalent to x, and this is x square root of 3, then this has to be 2. Oh, I'm sorry, I totally, sorry. These are not 5, these are 4. My apologies. These leg lengths are 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, because 4 times 5 gives me the 20 that I have here. So let me rewrite those. So this should be 4, no, sorry. Okay, got it wrong. The base, because we're splitting this triangle into 2, sorry, is 2. This is 4, this is 2 square root of 3. So we can find the area of this by doing 1/2 times the base, which is 2, times the height, which is 2 square root of 3, which 1/2 times 2 just eliminates. So we know that the area of this part of the triangle is 2 square root of 3, so we know that is 2 square root of 3. Multiply that. So this whole triangle, the whole triangle, as we can see, is going to be 4 square root of 3. So that means this is also 4 square root of 3. So add those together, you're going to get 8 square root of 3, or C is the answer choice. Okay, looking at number 29, we should be able to kind of recognize almost immediately that we're talking about an exponential function here. That we have something that's kind of like, y equals a times x to the b power. And we kind of see that pattern mostly being followed in these answer choices. So we know it's something exponential. So here it says Cal measured the temperature of a cup of hot chocolate placed in a room with a constant temperature, 70 degrees Fahrenheit. The temperature of the hot chocolate was 185 at 6 p.m. when it started cooling. The temperature at hot chocolate was 156 at 6:05, and temperature at 135 at 6:10. Temperature of the hot chocolate continued to decrease. The following function which best models the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. So we know that if the room here is a constant of 75 degrees, it means that the temperature of the cup of hot chocolate can never go below that. Okay, and so if you can kind of recognize that concept, then you know that D is the correct answer choice, because it's the only one that has a constant term of 70 in it. But what's really being expressed here is what we can see is that if we was to put say 0 right here, right? Then that would be 0 power, right? Because 0 over 5 is giving me 0. And then 0 times 0.75 is just giving me 1, right? So anything that's 0 power is 1. So 115 times 1, you're just giving me 70 plus 115, which gives me $185, which 185 degrees, which that is what the temperature of the cup of coffee is at the very start. So what's really happening here, if you look at this exponential equation, is that the intercept is at 185, it'd be at 0 and 185, and it's going to continually precipitously drop off, and then it's going to hit a point where it's just going to flatline. And so at 70 degrees here, it's just going to stay there because, again, there's nothing else pulling the temperature below room temperature. And so D is the answer choice on that one. Very good problem, very good exponential equation problem that really sort of tests your understanding there of the 0 power and of just as well as the introduction of constants. Okay, so here we see where equation 9x plus 5 equals ax plus b, where a and b are constant, has no solutions, which the following must be true. So remember, this is talking about our types of problems where we have, parallel lines. The slopes are the same. Remember, the y-intercepts are different on these problems because you'll see they're different electrifications. So let's first distribute out, and what we'll end up with is 9x plus 5 equals ax plus ab. Well, if you notice here, the slopes must be the same here, right? So a must be 9, and so that is indeed true. So a is gone there. And then we see 1 in all the others. But the other thing is, remember that these two pieces, they cannot be the same here, right? They cannot be the same. And we already know that a equals 9. So now as we write this expression, 5 equals 9, that's replaced for the a, and then we just have b. Well, these terms cannot be equivalent to each other. So if we solve for b here, b is suggesting that is 5/9. And if b is 5/9, then that means this term of AB is 5, which we can't have that. So B cannot equal 5/9 here, okay? It can be anything else but 5/9, but if it was 5/9, then essentially you'll just have, 5 equals 5, and again, we don't want that because that would then suggest infinite solutions instead of no solutions. So the other answer choice here is, the answer choice here is D. Okay, let's look at going into our grid ends. What we see here, 31, we see the graph above models the daily profit Y in dollars that a school club expects to make from selling shirts from a price of X dollars. Based on the model, what is the maximum daily profit in dollars? So this is vertex right there. This is vertex, so we can see the answer choice on this one is 60. Okay, 32. This is a linear equation word problem. So what we're going to be doing here, we see this word problem. We're plugging in values for P or Q here. It looks like formula above gives the theoretical power P in kilowatts. So we see P is in kilowatts. And we see here, what is the flow rate in cubic meters per second of water falling from the same height to theoretical power of 1,029,000 kilowatts. So that there is going to go where P is at. So we're just going to write 1029000 equals 686 Q. And so we're essentially solving for Q because we're solving for the flow rate. And we see flow rates equal to Q right there. So we're going to divide by 686. So we'll pull out our calculator there. Sorry, covering that up. So what we would have here is 1029000 divided by 686. So it's 1500. So yeah, we see that this is 1500 equals Q. All right, number 33, it is saying that in the XY plane, line K passes to the points 0, 2, and 3, 0. So we see this is 0, 2, this is 3, 0. If line K is defined by the equation y where n be constant, what is the value b? So the v is the y-intercept. Well, we're just looking for that. The y-intercept, or the b, is this term right here. So 2 is the answer. So there's really no word calculation involved. This just asks you if you understand what those points so happen to mean. Okay, 34 we see as a percentage problem. So Trevor works as a sales associate at a retail store. He normally is paid 20% of total retail value of the merchandise where he sells, but he may also earn a bonus. When he earns a bonus, he is paid 15% of his normal pay. During one pay period, Trevor sold 35 in merchandise and earned a bonus. How much was he paid in dollars? Okay, so here we know he sold 35 and he makes 20% of that, right? So if he has $3,500, right, times the 20% that he normally makes off of that, that's just going to be 0.2. So that's going to give us 3,500 times 0.2. So he gives us $700. So he made $700 off that. So he made 100 off that. And then he said he made 15%. When he earns bonus, he is paid additional 15% of his normal pay. So now we have the 700 times the 1. This is 15% above, so it's just going to be 1 plus 0.15, which is really just giving me 700 times 1.15. And so as we do that math on the calculator, times 1.15 gives me 805. So the answer choice on this one is 805. Okay, let's look at number 35 here. We see we have a slope-intercept form, so total company costs CX in dollars to produce X shirts is given by the function above, where M is a constant and greater than 0. The total cost to produce 100 shirts is $800. Total cost in dollars to produce 1,000 shirts is what? So we could find the slope here. No, hold on. The total cost to produce 100 shirts, and X is the number of shirts, is $800. So the 100 will go actually right there, and the 800 will go, sorry, right there. So we can rewrite this expression as 800 equals M times 100 plus 500. So subtract that. That's going to give me 300 equals M times 100 divided by 100. And so you'll see 3 equals M. So now we want to know what is the total cost for 1,000 shirts. So now our new problem is C of 1,000 equals the slope, which we already determined is 3, times 1,000 plus 500. And so that's going to be 3,000 plus 500, which the answer choice in this one is 3,500. All right, let's look at number 36 here that we have that's been given to us. It's saying in total distance meters traveled by an object moving in a straight line can be modeled by a quadratic function. So this is a little bit different. That is defined in terms of t, where t is times in seconds. So we see it at a time of 10 seconds, the total distance traveled by us is 50 meters. And so here we can create like this table where we have t and the meters traveled. And so we see that in 10 seconds, it goes 50 meters. And then a time of 20 seconds, right? So 20 seconds, distance traveled is 200 meters. If the object's at a distance of 0 meters when t equals 0, okay, so that's saying when time equals 0 there, it's just something we understand, we're at 0 meters. Then what is the total distance traveled in meters by the object after 30 seconds? So this is a pretty challenging question, and quite honestly, you really won't see that many questions modeled like this in the SAT. They just don't really ask a lot of quadratic function problems, word problems that is, especially that are like this. So what we can say here is we know that f of t equals ax squared plus bx plus c. And so we know if we put 0 in here for t, so if we're saying f of 0, well, we know that x equals 0, so that means basically you're going to have a 0 term for the x squared. You're going to have a 0 term for the bx term, but you're also going to have a 0 term for the c, right? Because when we put 0 in for x, we get 0 out for y, and that's what we have right here. So we know that that term c is 0 now. So really we're just kind of looking now at these terms at this very moment. If I now go put in 10 for t, or where x is at, I know I want to get 50 out, so f of t is going to be, so rewriting this next expression, we're going to have 50 equals a times t squared, or x squared, which is essentially 100, plus b times 10, right? If I try the same thing for t for 20, I want to get 200 equals, what is that? 420 squared is 400, so it's going to be a times 400 plus b times 10. And what you'll now have is we have a systems of equations here now. And we could try to find one of the terms of either a or b in this instance. So if I want to eliminate the b term, what I can do here is I can multiply by -2. So that's going to give me negative 100. -2 times 100a is going to give me negative 200a. -2 times 10b is going to be minus 20b. So as we sort of add up these terms, we're going to get 100 equals 400a minus 200a is going to give me 200a. And then from here, 20b minus 20b, that's just going to give me 0. So those terms cancel out. So we know now if we divide by 200, we're going to get 1/2 equals a. So the a term of our function is 1/2. And if we try to solve for the b term, so let's use one of these. Let's take the first one out and kind of give myself a little bit more room. So let's just go back. Well, now we know that the c equals 0, the a equals 1/2. So let's find the b term now. So if I go put 1/2 in for a here, we're going to take that first equation, essentially 50 equals 1/2 times 100 plus 10b. Well, 1/2 times 100, that's going to give me 50. So 50 equals 50 plus 10b. Well, what we'll then understand is that in order for this to be true, b has to be equal to 0. So now we know b equals 0. So we're now looking at a term or function that's saying f of t equals 1/2, that's the a term here, of t squared, which is the same thing as x squared. So, and the question's asking us, what is the object total distance traveled in meters after the object travels 30 seconds? So now we're saying f of 30 equals 1/2 times 30 squared. So that 30 squared, that's 1/2 times 900, which gives me 450. So the answer for is 450 on that one. Okay, let's look at number 37. That thankfully some problems like 36 you won't have to pay much attention to because again they very, very rare on the SAT. So 37 says what is the median of the scores for group B is how much greater than the median of scores of group A. So group A we see has 9 values there, right? Group B has 11, so A is going to be split up into the lower half is going to be 1 through 4, the median is going to be 5, and the upper is going to be 6 through 9. So number 5, so that's we see the frequencies here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's the median is in that one. So we see the median for A is 5. We're going to look at B, split it up into odd set, lower, median, upper. We have 11, so that means 1 through 5, number 6, and then 7 through 11. So the 6th value there, got 1, 2, 3, 4, so 1 through 4 is there. And then we got 5 and 6, so 6 value lies there, so we see is 6. So the median scores for group B is how much greater than the median scores for group A, which we see B minus A, or 6 minus 5. The answer choice is 1 there on that one. And 38 is saying the mean scores for group A is 5, and the mean scores for group B is 7. What is the mean scores for the 20 players in groups A and B combined? So we know that if the mean for group A, so we can solve for the total value, so we know for A it's 5 equals, and we know there's 9 values, right, for X, and so we need to multiply by 9. So we see that X equals 45 there. So there's 45 total sum of values in A. And B, we see the average is 7. So again, that's X over, there's 11 values multiplied by 11. And so we see the X value there is 77. So to solve for it, we've got to find the mean. It's equivalent to 45 plus 77 divided by the 9 and 11. And so using my calculator here, 45 plus 77 equals 122. And that's going to be divided by the 20 values that we have on the bottom. So we see the value is 6.1. So we see the answer here, 6.1. So, all right, well, thank you so much. Hope you found this to be quite helpful for your efforts and understanding the problems. And we'll see you again. Thanks. Bye-bye.